Guys, welcome back. I have Coach Henry Torano with me again today. One thing I always notice behind Henry is that's got to be Ken Griffey Jr., right? Is that Ken Griffey Jr.?
Yeah, that's Griffey and A-Rod.
And A-Rod. Okay, so did you get the picture for A-Rod or for Griffey or for both?
I actually had that sent as a gift. That top one, that's Sammy Sosa. That's whom I like. I'm a Cubs fan.
Nice. Gotcha. So it's more about the Cubs and less about Sammy Sosa.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
That's great.
Who would have thought I'd have a bunch of Reuters up in my wall?
Oh, I love it. That's great. Well, we're going in a 180 different direction. Well, maybe it's a similar direction, but I wanted to talk about mental game, emotional reactions, et cetera, with you today. So let me open up with a little bit of a broad question with you and ask you, how do you know, or what have you seen show up in your clients that makes you think I'm going to need to work on this person's mental game?
Yeah, I think if we were going to generalize as to, most common signs, I'd say it's the same reaction, usually manifesting itself in frustration, to a variety of things that come up, even though one thing may seem like a solution to the other. So I'll use a simple example. It's hard for me to find my drive in training because my training program is too long. And you're like, okay, so you shorten it up. Now the problem is that the training program is too short. Now the problem is that, whatever, and things just start coming up, and you kind of get the sense that there's a lot of dancing around what the real issue is.
I hear you guys often use the term dancing, and just because I don't think I've ever directly asked this question, what do you mean by dancing around something?
Yeah, well, that just means you're kind of, so when you dance, one person moves in one direction, the other one follows, right? But you're not. It's like one reaction to the other. So when we say that we're dancing, it means basically dancing around the truth, dancing around real issues, dancing around possible real solutions. So it's like you say this and I'll respond with that. And then, I'll ask this and you'll respond in another way. But we're, moving around a certain topic or a certain issue that one of us or maybe both of us know that it's there, but it's not being really addressed.
Gotcha. It's like not necessarily facing the real truth or not wanting to face it. Interesting. So somebody presents, we'll just call it what it is. Somebody's dancing with you right now, and you know that maybe they aren't where they need to be. How do you present that to them? Like, how do you start the conversation about this?
Yeah, man, that can go in so many, that can happen in so many ways. Sometimes it takes me a while to realize that we're dancing. More times than I'd like, I allow the dancing to happen for longer than it should. At the risk of not, trying to not be a hard ass all the time and like literally asking myself, is it me? Like, do I have a problem because I'm seeing these obvious signs and these obvious things that are not obvious to the other person? And like pretty much doubting my perception or my interpretation of what the person is presenting. That's what, will kind of make me dance a little bit.
Interesting.
I, the best dance stopper is, again, just truth. I mean, you can't go wrong in it. And one's intention as to how that's presented more so than the way it is presented, and having it, be genuine. Like, I'm noticing this. In the past, you said this, and then you said that, and then you said this other thing, and we still have the same problem, but no solutions seem to be adequate for it. I'm thinking that it may be this other thing. And the way that you portray that, and especially if there is, again, if you're just genuine behind it, where you can show the person, I'm legitly just trying to figure it out so that I can better help you.
Hmm.
That's that's what makes it go over smoothly versus having it seem like you're criticizing.
Oh, gotcha. Do you see very differing reactions to that, or is it generally fairly similar?
Oh no, I get, I've seen both end spectrums. You have people that get very defensive. Um, you have people that are immediately submissive and like, yes, you're right, and then it comes out. You have people whom you just completely blindside with it, whether it be I'm aware, I just didn't want to hear it, or I wasn't aware at all, and you can see like that sense of like there's nothing to say at that moment for that person, and it needs a little more digesting, in at that moment.
Would it be fair to say that more people than not are unaware that they're dancing, or do a lot of people actually know they are?
Man, I really do believe that. I don't know. That's a tough question. So my instinct was to say like no, they're not aware. Um, but I really do think that they're aware. They just don't want to come to terms with it.
At some level, they're aware, but maybe they're pushing it aside or pushing it away. Or
Yeah, it's
interesting.
like they're seeing the same things that I'm seeing. Um, they just don't want to admit it, or finally say like, yeah, this is the problem. It's not all this other shit that I'm trying to use as excuses for it. So
Mm,
I think that's where that's where the communication and relationship factor really comes in, and where the coach can be useful, in the sense of bridging that gap. And this is something that I mean, we can call it a pitch if you want, but when people ask me like values of a coach, and when I present the lifestyle piece, one thing that I always say is, it's my job to tell you some of the things that you don't want to hear.
mm. Just you saying that felt so like to the point. I was like, "Yep, I believe you," and that sounds like a good idea. So when let's say that they're now at least hearing you and they're acknowledging that this is going on. Maybe they don't love it, but they are acknowledging that it's going on. How do you help them stop dancing and improve on the mental side of, call it, training or competing?
Again, that's man, that can
It
go in so many
depends.
ways. Yeah. Um, uh, for one, I, as much as possible, I try to put it on them, in the sense of like, oh yeah, so this is a problem. Interesting. So what do you think? Like, how could we fix it, or how do you think you could improve on this? I try to really make them find a solution for themselves. I've never had me suggest something, and or maybe very few times have them say no. So I've come to realize that whatever I say at that moment, they're going to say yeah, but it's not going to happen.
Mm,
So I'd rather not have a solution, and just kind of let's just talk about it, and see what you come up with. A lot of times people will link that to other situations in their life where they face similar adversity, if you will, and this is what worked for me then. Maybe I could try to do that. Uh, so many times, once that comes out, people just won't stop talking, and
mm.
they'll like, you just exposed it, and now they do like the full review and analysis of what needs to change and what they need to improve it.
I'm just assuming, but I want to clarify. Is the solution that they come up with generally much more advantageous, consistent in its execution than if you just said you need to do this right now?
I won't even try to think of an answer for that. I will say that whatever they come up with is just more doable.
Interesting.
So, whatever you can come up with is something that you and your head deem that it's possible, that it's implementable. That's a lot better than me trying to give you the ideal solution if I did have it, and it being nowhere in your wheelhouse to even start putting those pieces together.
This is slightly on a different topic, but I love the book Never Split the Difference. It's about negotiation and the whole nine yards. And he says in the book that essentially if you can get somebody to say that's right, that's extremely powerful. If you get somebody to say you're right, that's them just pushing you away because they don't really give a shit. I suspect that there's probably something in this conversation that's similar to that idea where it's like, yes, I believe that, I can do that, that's right. Yeah, you're right, I get it, you're right, and it's just kind of a pushing away of that. That's really interesting because I think a lot of coaches can go so masculine and say, do this, do this, do this, do this, do this. And maybe that works for some, but for a lot of people, they probably don't internalize it quite as deeply. How long does it generally take for somebody to start to feel the positive differences of adding those good behaviors, adding that consistency into their lifestyle, to switch their mindset?
Man, I can honestly say that I've had people come, like, just text me the next morning and say, just by thinking of it and, within that framework that we discussed, it just changed everything.
Hmm.
Um, I have a client, she was pretty hardcore into competing, then had some personal issues, but still wanted to stay, fit. She actually does, she is passionate about fitness, but she got in a huge funk. Basically, I'm squatting and I'm 40 pounds away of what I know I can squat or have squat in the past. And then since I know I can't get there, I just quit. I won't finish the next 2 sets. And then I'm doing these intervals, and so it's just that entire I'm not where I used to be type thing. And that was, well, it wasn't a simple talk. That was a 30-minute consult turned 90. But basically what I said was, who gives a shit? I don't care. Like I write, back squat, 3 sets of 6. I just want you to build to a challenging set for 6. I don't care if that's,
Yeah.
90 pounds or 200 pounds. If you were competing, then maybe I'd say like, yeah, this is pretty bad. Like, we need to improve. But, all I want you to do is squat today. And just take that into each one of these pieces and take it for what it is, and just realize that there's nothing behind it. No positive or negative judgment. If you, regardless of the numbers, if you write in the comment section, oh, good workout, I'm happy.
Mm. And that's
Very
because,
next day.
yeah,
Very
and
next day
that's,
it changed for her.
what did she say? What did she say the next day?
I actually posted about it on Instagram. She told the world. She put it on her Instagram story. How just one simple conversation had completely shifted her mindset and the way that she approached her workouts and how she was feeling physically that very next day.
It's amazing how much stress and or strength, I guess might be one word, can manifest itself when you just can't stop thinking about something. Yeah, I just keep thinking about all your answers are it depends, which is so right on this. But if you were to try to tell somebody who has some sense that something's not quite right, between the ears, what would you offer to them as maybe how they could explore it or what they might be able to do to start to improve it?
I'd say a similar process to what you and I definitely know and have heard it, as far as how to find your why, where, what's important to you, and you ask why, and then whatever the answer is, yeah, but why? And you do that 7 times, kind of the same thing. Like, stop, take a step back and ask yourself, what's wrong? And then no, what's really wrong, and what's really wrong, and just deconstruct that to the very basic level. And when you're 100% sure that you understand what's happening, then ask yourself, how can I fix this? Each individual part. How can I make one of them just a little bit better? Just upgrading each little system. And then a huge part, I think, in actually implementing and maybe allowing yourself to take that step back and look at it at a macro level. And this is another one that I tell a lot of my clients is, you decide the story that you tell yourself. And it's applicable to so many different scenarios, to, just regular people trying to do fitness, to, higher level competitors. You can't really do anything about how you feel or about what's happening, but you can do something about how you feel about how you feel.
Mm. Yep. Oh man, that's such good stuff, Henry. Let's call it there, man. I think I've got maybe some additional lines of questions that I think we can go down maybe on a next call. But I really appreciate you coming on. I think that's some great information for folks to think about.
Absolutely.
All right, man. Thanks, everybody.